Hello and welcome to Is This England, a show where we talk about old England games and ask, just how England was this?
With modern day England finishing off their Euro 2024 qualifying campaign, we are taking a look back at the last qualifying games which meant a damn. It's 20 years ago and it's Sven's England hosting Turkey at the Stadium of Light. Bring your riot gear.
Time can do. Baby, you mean everything to me. Darling, there's no danger.
What an exciting, innovative introduction, Nick.
Yeah, we've got to get it right to the point, haven't we? This is a thrilling set of games that we've got in front of us, actually.
This is one of the first, the formative ideas for the podcast, really. I think when we both drew up our shortlist, this was on both shortlists independently of any discussions with each other about said shortlists.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. These are the ones that it's just because you're young and all this, but I genuinely can't think of like a qualifying campaign where two games meant so much and probably haven't again.
No, definitely. I think it's worth a technical mention.
We've had a nightmare.
We're in person for the first time this year. I think we stopped doing them in person around the time of the World Cup and have been doing remote since then, but we wanted to get together. I thought that would be easy using Logic Pro and a couple of mics. It wasn't. It was actually impossible and frustrating, and it took 40 minutes, and now, in Nick's words, we're doing this a la Beatles. So we're huddled around one microphone, harmonising on all things England versus Turkey. Another technical point is we're in my house, and there is a cat in the house. She hasn't interrupted us so far, but she may at some point. Depends how hungry she gets. But are you ready, Nick?
I'm ready. I'm ready to jump into 2003 back again. Last time we were in 2003 was the last episode we did actually, and it was Australia, and we pick up like exactly there as well, which is quite fun. So it's a nice little quick drop in as well to what 2003 in general was, which I think is good to always set the scene too.
Yeah, let's set the scene with a bit of a time capsule. This is a two-legged affair really, because obviously the two qualifying games against Turkey. So we're going to give our own individual time capsules in the follow-up match. But to set the scene for what 2003 looked like, Nick's made a few bullet points. I'll start. The third instalment of the Harry Potter books, Order of the Phoenix, is released. Was that when they started to get really big?
Yeah, it was just like, you've got to read these. Everyone's reading it. I'm like, look, I haven't got the attention span to read.
I actually meant physically really big.
Oh, right.
The first couple were book size, and then these are like anthology size from here on out.
It's like in a cartoon when someone brings out War and Peace, like how big that book looks.
Exactly. But yeah, you're probably right. That would have been the real takeoff, where most people would start getting 1 and 2 after hearing the hype about 3.
And the films would have been out around now. I always remember there was like a bit of a delay with like the films and the books. Obviously they didn't come out at the same time because that would have been pointless. But I think the films would have been out around this point, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right. What else have we got in 2003?
Americans in general.
Just generally, yeah.
Just general Americans renamed French fries to Freedom Fries in protest to France's stand in Iraq.
Okay, so they're going, we like your fries, we want to keep them, but we're damned if we're going to...
These are ours now.
Yeah, freedom as well.
I know, the word with Freedom Fries, in my head, there is like sparklers coming out of them, like in The Simpsons, in Moe's Family Feedback.
Unky Mo.
Unky Mo, yeah, that's
definitely. Sales of DVDs would overtake videotapes for the first time, and I'm presuming never looked back from there.
Yeah, I can't see them coming back properly. You see like cassettes come back, like cool bands try and release cassettes these days, and like you can put them in your car. But no one does that anymore. It's like, it's not like when vinyl came back. So videotape is going to be the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, DVD's pretty much obsolete now, though.
Yeah, that's true. Everything's on streaming now, isn't it? Yeah. But I like buying something physical still. That's like half the point of it, isn't it? Of like, because as soon as you want to watch something, you go, oh, I'll watch that. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's impossible to watch now.
Yeah. I like the idea of of keeping DVDs, but I don't have anything to play them on.
Oh really?
My Xbox is discless, and that was like my old Xbox was my method of DVD player.
Oh,
we had a DVD player. What happened to that? Because we brought one because we didn't. What happened there? I think it was an old SCART socket. Do you remember? Is that what they're called? SCARTs.
I mean, I've heard the word.
Yeah.
It's like that goes into there. It's a SCART lead. My dad would say, and I go, okay.
Yeah, it was a SCART lead. But
Mother, where's the SCART lead?
this was for a HDMI TV, so not a SCART lead. Films that year, we got Kill Bill Volume 1. Absolute kind of one of those Tarantino films. I feel half of his films are like cultural phenomenons, and the other half are like really good films.
And that's exactly what Volume 1 and 2 was.
Yeah.
Volume 1 was just like so iconic with like the imagery and everything around it, and then 2 is just like, oh, is he still going on?
Yeah, exactly. Both good films though.
Yeah.
School of Rock, what would go on to become a franchise really within itself. It's a musical and everything like that now.
And it's kind of like the first on screen of Jack Black just doing a Jack Black.
Yeah.
Just doing a full rig-a-goo-goo like to everything. Like I don't feel like he'd done that on camera before. He'd just been like the slob in the back of a film.
Yeah. Certainly not on the big stage in a leading man role.
Yeah.
Love Actually, which would go on, I guess, to become like an all-time Christmas classic.
Yeah, I mean, problematic now slightly, but I
Is
think
it? What?
What's his name? The lead guy in it. He's basically, I'm going to America to shag.
Oh
That
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
That's a bit not right anymore. But I'm still that's like a brilliant Christmas film. I don't think you can really dispute that. I think it's just like, oh, actually, Love Actually is just shit, and this is why, Guardian readers, we don't actually like it. It's a great film. Just fucking grow up.
It is where it is. It's a good Christmas film. The third Lord of the Rings film, Return of the King, was released. Never seen any of them, so if you have any comments on that,
Get a life.
get a life. And me get a life for not seeing them, or people who watch them get a life.
No, one of maybe the greatest trilogy in cinema history, I'd say. The work that goes into those films and shot back to back, and the Oscars that ended up winning by the end, just because it was like, right, we've not respected these films for 2 films. You've won everything basically. Yeah, an amazing film.
Matrix trilogy. What did they bring out? Matrix 2 and 3 in 2003.
The year of the Matrix, that was it, yeah. And they released like in between them, they released like lots of like minis, like cartoons and games and everything. It was a bit overkill. I think give it like a year between the two would have been the better idea, and they both kind of underperformed because they were both out in the same year.
Yeah.
And they just weren't as good as the first one either.
The final film we're going to mention is The Room. I've not seen The Room. I've seen the film about making The Room. What's that called?
Disaster Artist.
I'm glad you remembered it, else
Yes.
we could have been
In trouble.
in trouble for a while there. Why does that make the list? I guess it's kind of got a life of its own.
Yeah, it's become like the worst film ever made. You've got to watch it, but actually, all you need to do is watch the highlights on YouTube, the mega clips of it, because it is, while it's bad and it is very funny that it is bad, it's also horribly boring at the same time and soul crushing. But Tommy Wiseau's masterpiece in general. I wouldn't say I love The Room, but I love everything about The Room. I went to go and watch a musical about The Room in Edinburgh at the Fringe Festival years ago, and it was just like a downstairs of a bar somewhere with like 100 people in it, and everyone was like fully on board with everything that went on in there. You were like, yeah, this is the perfect place to experience this.
You like the cult surrounding The Room.
Yeah, there's a lot of things on here that actually became musicals or like had other lives. I feel like Love Actually must have been like devised as a musical at some point, like a stage play. School of Rock is a stage play. I saw the Room stage play musical, essentially.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for a Return of the King, the stage play. I'd like to see that.
Maybe. Let's talk about football then, and again a bit of a recap as to, well, the game that we're doing today and the double header. It's a Euro 2004 qualification. England versus Turkey, and as I said earlier, we both kind of put this on our shortlist at the start of the whole project, and it's taken us this long to get around to it. And the reason why I would add it is, I think it felt like there were big games, but there weren't tournament big games. That these are like really strong England deep cuts, if that makes sense. This isn't like a naff game or even a good game but with no stakes to it. This is like, it's like the Italy, England, France 98 qualifier. I think it's that sort of level, and probably the last time we saw anything like this. Also Wayne Rooney.
The emergence and the coming of Wayne Rooney, definitely. But I also think like Italy 97 in Rome gets talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I was listening to, annoyingly, Gary Neville's very good podcast now called Stick to Football. Yeah. And Ian Wright was talking about that night, and Gary Neville obviously played in, he was in those games as well. I don't think he played that night, but they were kind of talking about, that famous night in Rome. It was in a Three Lions song. I think these are kind of up there for drama and what happens in these games, and on and off the pitch, there's a lot going on. But I just think there's these are kind of forgotten of these were actually brilliant games in between, and they're really important games as well for England.
They are. I think maybe why they're forgotten compared is they weren't like the final game of it was all on that Italy game, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, I think the Turkey game the first one we're going to talk about today was kind of just about the start of qualification. Yeah. And then the second game is the final game, but I know what you mean. It just felt like, I don't know, I wasn't watching England back in 97, but I don't know, maybe it just felt like it was Italy, so this was a bigger game because it's their
competition. Instead
of it's Turkey, and Turkey are just for some reason excellent in this period.
Let's have a look at who else was excellent in this period then. So we like to have a look at the state of football, give us a bit of a greater context for where England are and where the game was at that time. So on the day of the first game, which is April the 2nd, 2003, if you were to look at the Premier League table, you would see Arsenal at the top, following a 2-1 win over Everton at Highbury. Game is apparently best remembered for a great individual goal from Wayne Rooney. I don't remember this one. I remember his goal that made Everton beat Arsenal.
Yeah.
Remember the name goal.
Which I think we talked about in the Australia game last time as well.
Talk us through this one.
So this one, I think Rooney kind of picks it up in the Arsenal half, but not far from the halfway line on the right hand side, and he just starts running. I think it's Seagon. Yeah. Remember Pascal Seagon? He was like, actually, he's going to be great, and he was terrible. But he starts running at him, and Seagon, you just clearly go, I have not got the capabilities to handle this, and he just backs off. And Rooney, I think, places the ball, I think it's between Seagon's legs and into the bottom corner, and it's just like, shit. Yeah. He has this is another, and again, in the same season, he'd already scored against Arsenal, and it would start to become a thing where he would just constantly eat Arsenal up for whoever he played for, and clearly loved it too. And after the goal as well, he just takes his Everton top off, throws it to the ground, and he's got just like an off-white, awful, unbranded shirt on, like a vest.
I thought you meant an off-white brand.
No, and as in he's just got it's clearly just what he sleeps in. Yeah. Like that vest, and it's just awful and horrible, but it's he just took it off, he had no message under it, it was just, he's just Wayne Rooney.
Imagine if the vest said that. So he's everywhere, isn't he, at this point? But Arsenal top of the league again. I feel like it's quite nice to think of those days. I don't know. It's just Arsenal, Man United, wasn't it? No Manchester City, no Chelsea.
No teams getting deducted points for financial fair play breaches. Ooh, current
indeed. That weekend of fixtures in the Premier League also saw West Ham grab a valuable win over Sunderland, who kind of appeared already sort of doomed at that time. Jermaine Defoe was on the score sheet for West Ham. Again, just played for Sunderland for 8. You could think of him in your head as a Sunderland player, Defoe, but he's played for so many different clubs.
But I never think he was ever quite as exciting as he was at West Ham, because it was just like he was in a. Well, I think we're going to go through their team in a minute. They were a really interesting Premier League team with just lots of names, and you go, "Fuck, they were really good that year of West Ham," but somehow they were awful at the same time as being really, had the names. But
yeah, Sunderland were already doomed. West Ham would get the valuable win, but the reason it was so valuable is because they were potentially doomed themselves, and doomed with a team that included the likes of David James, Nigel Winterburn, Lee Bowyer, Michael Carrick, Trevor Sinclair, Jermaine Defoe, Paolo Di Canio, Freddie Canute, Gary Breen. I thought that was a misspelling then. I thought that was Gareth Barry, misspelled. Les Ferdinand, Glenn Johnson, Anton Ferdinand, and Joe Cole. English core, you would say.
You'd say so, and with the continental flair at times as well. But it's just like that team. Should be easily, you think, like Europa League football today, wouldn't you? You go, that is a brilliant attacking team, very attacking, too attacking maybe.
Yeah.
But West Ham's awful start to this season had seen them bottom at Christmas with just 16 points.
I don't know how that compares to some of the other bad relegation campaigns. 16 points, that's
like at
18
Christmas.
games.
Yes, so that's at Christmas. They're there, but no team at this point had ever survived after being bottom on Christmas Day either. Going into that, it'd be a few years later when West Brom would kind of book that trend, but West Ham would go down this season, and they go down on 42 points, the most any team has ever gone down with in a 38-game Premier League season.
So just a point on the squad. Good squad, as we say, but it's a bit England. I'm thinking the 80s. No, in the year 2000. That Keegan era where it's the right names but the wrong times. Nigel Winterburn must have been cracking on.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Glenn Johnson must have been a kid.
Yeah, Glenn Johnson. Joe Cole's a child at this point. Anton Ferdinand's a child. Les Ferdinand too old.
Michael Carrick probably not at his best yet. Yeah, there's some good players in there, but maybe just at the wrong time. But it was an emotional season for West Ham, aside from the on the pitch sort of woes. Manager Glenn Roeder had to move away from his position on the 21st of April after collapsing following a 1-0 win over Middlesbrough. Was later revealed to have a non-malignant brain tumour, which was later operated on successfully. Who stepped in to fill that role would be Sir Trevor Brooking. Now that is the equivalent of Eric Ten Hag falling ill and getting Fergie in.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know how old Brooking would have been at this point.
That's maybe even getting Cantona in.
Yeah.
In the equivalent of that today as well. And the real Mr. West Ham. It feels like there's been a lot of Mr. West Hams like Mark Noble and things like that. It's Brooking, really, isn't
Bobby
it?
Moore?
Yeah, Bobby. Yeah, but he'd probably say so. I don't know. There's something about Brooking that I just feel like is even more. I think because he's still around, obviously, and he was obviously in the background here as well. Unfortunately, I think West Ham and Bobby Moore had parted ways and in bad terms, and he was never fully celebrated until after his death. But
perfectly put. Yeah, that's it. So the real Mr. West Ham, presumably, would have been commentating on PES games at this time as well.
Probably, and real life games as well. So he puts down his commentating mic and picked up the challenge of managing the club he loved for the remainder of the season. He guided West Ham to a win at Man City, as well as a last-minute win against rivals Chelsea, following Di Canio's reintroduction to the team after saying he'd never play for the club again.
So did Di Canio say he'd never play, or did Brooking say Di Canio would never play?
I think Di Canio had fallen out with Roeder in beforehand, and I think Di Canio he'd been good when he was on the pitch, but it was hard keeping him on the pitch because he was just such an emotional wreck this season, basically. And when they weren't doing well, he kind of took that on himself and blamed everybody else. It was a very Paolo Di Canio time, really.
I'm just looking at these pictures of Paolo Di Canio here, and I'm thinking, we see him primarily in football clothes, but I wonder what he wore in real life, because I imagine him to wear fine sort of silky shirts with you know, them sort of the Kramer style shirts.
I can, baggy. I'd say his style
Yeah.
would be baggy, but he's clearly in amazing nick.
Yeah, exactly. And also mental.
Yeah.
So in the Premier League, the sort of the relegation scrap for West Ham would actually go down to the final day. As you say, they had quite a few points compared to most of the relegated teams. They needed to better Bolton Wanderers' result, who were playing at home to Middlesbrough. The problem is you're relying on not just any old Bolton. This is early Big Sam Bolton, who had their own stars in the shape of Yuri Djorkaeff, Ivan Campo, Kevin Nolan, and of course JJ Okacha. Sam's boys would race into a 2-0 lead until one cap Michael Ricketts pulled one back. Have we covered that game?
No, we probably never will. The Ricketts game.
The Ricketts game. We may have actually and just glossed over it.
Yeah.
Maybe not in great detail. West Ham were playing at Birmingham City, and they were leading through Les Ferdinand before 2 goals in the final 10 minutes gave Birmingham the lead to almost secure the win. But Di Canio did equalise in the last minute. All of this was in vain. West Ham were relegated because they could not better Bolton Wanderers' results. Drama, and like you say, probably a team that's seen as too good to be relegated.
That's the first time I ever remember hearing the phrase "too good to go down." and I don't think that was where it was invented, but that's kind of in my eyes was just like, okay, bloody, that's a fun phrase, and probably untrue. I mean, I can't think of a team who went down who were that star-studded in the Premier League again.
Not the Newcastle team.
Even they had got rid of a lot of their good players. Like it was like Michael Owen, Viduka, and somebody Martins up front maybe. But even then, they were barely playing for them at the time.
Yeah.
But and I think there's all those players really who stuck around in the Championship. Probably very few, especially within a year. I don't think they came back up.
And I think maybe Leicester.
Leicester, yeah, that was just such a massive drop off, wasn't it? Really,
Yeah.
and again, this is without I know when Leeds went down, obviously they took a lot of players with them, but again, half of them had already been sold.
It is a good phrase though, too big to go down.
Yeah.
Poor Trevor Brooking, eh?
I know, yeah, lovely Trev.
The final thoughts on the Premier League. Pretty good season overall. A lot of entertaining games, a lot of entertaining players, and just a good time to be alive and into football.
I genuinely think this is one of the great Premiership seasons, and not just because it was the first that I watched, which is, your first is always your favourite and things like that, but the title ratio didn't go down to the final day, but it was one of the great kind of comeback, pullbacks of a team ever, really, in the Premiership. Champions League race went to the last day. Chelsea beat Liverpool on the final day at Stamford Bridge to qualify over Liverpool. Everton almost qualified for European football as well after kind of having a nothing season the year before.
Is this David Moyes?
David Moyes,
Yeah.
yes. Gordon Strachan got Southampton to the FA Cup final as well, and somehow Leeds stayed up thanks to Peter Reid's heroics, despite Peter Ridsdale selling all their good players under Terry Venables.
There we go. A lot of interesting stuff happening in English football, and if we're looking at the national team, which we are, which we do, as is our want, nothing more exciting, maybe nothing more exciting in our lifetimes than the introduction of Wayne Rooney to the fold for England. I will just say Jude Bellingham was potentially more exciting, but let's not quibble. So as Nick mentioned earlier, the last time we made a podcast, that seems like the wrong term. We were in the year of his Lord 2003, and we saw England lose 3-1 to Australia at home, with Sven Eriksson making 11 changes at half time. Francis Jeffers would score the goal for England that day, and Wayne Rooney would make his England debut. We spoke about a bit of the hype around him, but we didn't go into great detail about his rise because we thought we could do that today. This Turkey game is a big moment for Rooney in his England career, and kind of a big moment for Sven and the whole of the England team around this time. Do you want to take us right back to the start for Wayne Rooney?
Yeah, the first mark Rooney made in any forms of football was a goal-scoring debut for his local pub team's under-12s game. He was 7. So, at an early age, really going for it. In the 2001-2002 season, Rooney had led Everton's FA Youth Cup team to the final, scoring 8 goals in 8 games, including 1 in the final. David Moyes knew he had something special in Rooney and started him on the first day of the season against Spurs at home. So,
I don't remember that.
So chucked him in there, straight away started him.
I thought the first time he ever came on was against Arsenal with that goal, but there you go.
Yeah, it's weird looking back because I don't remember that at all. I remember seeing like the videos and pictures of it since, but yeah, that was kind of like, okay, he actually chucked him in and really started to make an impact off the bench more, including a game at Old Trafford where he almost ran through the entire team before fluffing his shot. So
yeah, that does ring a bell actually.
He kind of came on, it was like, shit, he's the new player. Like already it felt like it, but it's a really similar goal to the one we talked about a little earlier, the second goal against Arsenal. It's kind of, he just does that again.
Yeah.
Like he just felt like head down, just absolutely trample over players.
And it would be the following week from that where the moment came. Arsenal, 30 games unbeaten, reigning champions. The game is 1-1 and Rooney is introduced as a late substitute. He receives a long ball up front, instantly controls it and starts to attack Arsenal with purpose.
Ramison forward. Rooney, instant control. Fancies his chances. Oh, brilliant goal! A brilliant goal! Remember the name, Wayne Rooney. It's Premiership history. The big league's youngest ever goal scorer signals his arrival on the big stage with a breathtaking goal to end Arsenal's unbeaten run surely in the final minute. Wayne Rooney, 5 days short of his 17th birthday, has just grown up. The control was impressive. The shot sent...
That may be the only time where the quality of the audio clips ripped from YouTube outstrips the quality of our pod recording. But the quality of that goal still astounds me, to be honest, to this day.
Yeah.
It's not just that it's an important goal, it's not just that it's a great goal, it's that it's both things at once.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's the start of Rooney just owning the league, isn't it? I mean, it's totally... The fizz has started for Rooney, hasn't it? I've just opened my bottle of Coke.
Yeah, well, it's what, 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, exactly. Pre-11 o'clock Coke has to be something that's gone really well or really bad. And I think we've done both today, so
Yeah.
that's great.
That's true. But yeah, that goal, there's been a million words said about it over the years, and it is amazing. A proper, never forget that moment. I know the kind of, the line is a bit of a, not a cliche, but we've all heard it a million times, haven't we? Remember the name.
And it's kind of like one of the few moments you'd ever remember from watching the Premiership on ITV.
Yeah.
Like all the imagery and like the logos and all that kind of stuff and how it was set up like that. That's the thing I remember most, as well as U2's Beautiful Day over the top of it. Like that was my introduction to watching football every week.
Yeah.
So I didn't have this nostalgia of match of the day and whatever. So to me, that was like, oh, that's what you want.
I think I saw a clip on Twitter the other day of something, and it was like, I think Sky had put like a compilation of goals from a season that wasn't that long ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but they'd put Beautiful Day over it, and
unacceptable.
somebody was like, you're messing with my brain here. Like, I can only imagine that Arsenal top and that Everton goal.
Yeah, Henry like keeping the ball up with his feet, like running at someone as well. Like that ball as well.
Yeah.
That is iconic too.
I'm glad you said it as well.
The Nike ball.
Yeah. Rooney was at it again a few weeks later. Winner at Leeds, he scored, and at home to Blackburn in December, before being sent off on Boxing Day in a game at Birmingham. So he's all there.
He's playing all
fully
hits.
formed. Absolutely.
It was amazing, but I remember strangely a game against Bolton at home. Okay, sorry, go on. Yeah, strangely, I remember a game against Bolton at home over Christmas, which really sticks in my mind. So I'd gone to watch a game with my uncle, and one of my uncle's friends was an Everton fan, and he'd gone to Goodison Park that day, and we heard it was 0-0, and we were driving home. We were like, God, what a crap game to go to. But apparently it was seen as the full coming of Wayne Rooney and JJ Okocha. They both had absolute standout games and had lit it up, and just by some horrible luck, the game had just ended 0-0. But like in the press afterwards, it was seen as, okay, this was Rooney's first full 90-minute performance for Everton that would be remembered.
Interesting. I mean, we've covered quite a lot of goals there. He wasn't exactly Haaland-esque in terms of coming on the scene and banging them in at a rate we've never seen. It was the whole. He got the goals, of course, but it was the whole package really. It was his energy, physical attributes, and attitude, the kind of no shits given approach that made him an immediate star in that debut season. The goal against Arsenal is something that he would, as you've said again, would repeat throughout his career. When you said it as well, that he kind of owned the Premier League, it's so true. He really did. After his England debut, though, against Australia, where he was one of 11 half-time substitutes, which is mental. Sven liked what he saw, despite the kind of the wrong end of the result for England. He kept Rooney in his squad for the following month's crunch games against Liechtenstein and Turkey. Goal scorer Francis Jeffers didn't make the same cut, but read into that what you will. Let's have a look at the widest picture for England's Euro 2004 qualification then. It was the Beckham and Owen show, surprisingly or not.
Who knew?
Who knew? Set and forget. Just stick them in there, they'll get the job done. They did the business for England in Liechtenstein. The game finished 2-0. Heskey had started with Owen up front, following experiments with James Beattie and Alan Smith.
Even that seems like a long time ago from the last game. Like, Heskey's back, Rooney's around, like, we don't need you anymore.
Although he'd end up playing with him, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Rooney would be introduced as a late sub in that game once it was wrapped up. David James as well, at kind of the other end of the pitch. David James would play against Liechtenstein and was pretty much confirmed as England's new number one, calling time on David Seaman's England career at the same time. What do you make of that?
Needed, bless David Seaman. He probably should have been a bit longer, and it's just Sven going with, okay, we've got to go with David James. He's our number one keeper. Let's just give him a go. And it just felt like, this is weird. Like, he's been on the peripheries for so long, playing for Liverpool, and often forgotten time at Villa as well. He was at Villa for a few years, and just no memory of that to me. But yeah, at West Ham, seen as actually he's a goalkeeper who's going to make things happen for better or worse.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about him a lot more as we progress through the game today. As we've said a few times now, the game today is against Turkey. They were leaders of the qualification group thanks to England dropping points against Macedonia. So by the time this game comes round, England are trailing Turkey. And I think that's a good place to leave England for a moment and look at the opposition. Up to this point, Turkey weren't kind of, as we know them now, they're pretty much there or thereabouts in most tournaments. I'm not sure if they've qualified for every one of the last few, but it's certainly no surprise to see Turkey in a tournament today. Their first appearance at a World Cup came in 1954. Nick, there's admin and formatting chaos, so run us through.
This is where I thrive, admin and formatting chaos. So, they were involved in a 4-team group which included West Germany, Hungary and South Korea. Simple.
Yeah.
However, each team would only play 2 of their group opponents. So there is a team that gets missed out, basically, that you don't play out of those 3. Turkey lose 4-1 to West Germany, but beat South Korea 7-0. This is also the group in which Hungary's team of the century dismantled Germany 8-3 and South Korea 9-0 to progress.
South Korea are doing well. 9-0 and 7-0 losses.
Not good. At least they haven't got to play Germany.
Yeah.
West Germany and Turkey had both won 1 and lost 1, and instead of going with a head-to-head record, which was West Germany's, or a goal difference, which was Turkey's, they had a playoff between the two teams.
Yeah.
Just pick one.
Yeah, that's maddening.
Just like, let's add a game to the World Cup out of nowhere. And West Germany beat Turkey 7-2, so Turkey went home. Pointless.
Yeah, it would take another 44 years for them to play at a World Cup, unfortunately for them. But it was the 2002 World Cup in
Japan?
Japan.
South Korea?
Such a strong memory in my mind. I have no idea. I'd just forgotten that. They would start their return to the World Cup with a game against Brazil, and they would unfortunately lose that. Well, not unfortunately, they were unfortunate to lose,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Played very well in that game.
I do remember that, actually, but not enough to continue that sentence. They would draw against Costa Rica following that and beat China to qualify for the knockout phase for the first time ever, where they were drawn against co-hosts Japan. Turkey would win 1-0, so kind of putting themselves up as the tournament bad guys, really, they're out here crushing dreams.
Yeah, oh yeah, I tell you, they are the big heel turn of this competition. They're the bad guys, the big baddies, yeah.
They would move on then to the quarterfinals. And as you say, they're the bad guys. Everyone's second team by this point had been Senegal. But Senegal would get knocked out by Turkey, a 1-0 win, setting up a rematch against opening day conquerors Brazil in the semi-final.
Yeah.
And it only took a Ronaldo toe poke to make a difference between the two sides. And God, it could have been so different. This is the Ronaldo tournament from memory. And you did have a third place playoff though, and that came against co-hosts South Korea. I remember Hakan Şükür scoring 11 seconds in, listening to that on the radio. I actually remember exactly where I was being driven by my mother, which was by the Showcase Cinema in Warsaw. Going home to watch the game. We'd been to Argos. Pretty sure I had something cool, maybe like a PlayStation game.
Yeah.
And then it was like, wow, we scored 11 seconds. Anyway.
Lovely.
Yeah, Turkey would eventually win that game 3-2, taking bronze for the tournament. What a comeback after 54 years out of it.
Yeah, and amazing really, because so Turkey's World Cup history goes group stage, no, third. Just incredible really, and like one of those stories where you just go, fucking hell, Turkey finished third in a World Cup.
One of those.
And like today, I don't even know what the comparison of that is. That's like maybe Albania finishing third at a World Cup.
True. Yeah. It's also one of those that made me think England had all those no's there. England qualified.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of them.
There's one win for England in that. Pretty
True.
much out of all that, but still probably maybe 2 tournaments England don't go to. So it's like, they still did really well. Turkey third.
Yeah. On the European side of international football tournaments, they had achieved being a bit more successful, I should say, in qualifying for Euro 96, where they would lose all 3 games. They also qualified for Euro 2000 and got to the quarterfinals, progressing from quite a tough group. In that tough group, you had Italy, who would make it to the final, Sweden, who had topped England's qualification group, and co-hosts Belgium. They would actually make it out of that group before losing to Portugal, who I think we covered their opening game of the we have, haven't we?
Yeah, they absolutely steamrolled over England, even though England went 2-0 up in the game.
Scored too early twice. So the World Cup 2002 performance was a surprise, but it was a strong Turkish side by comparison. If they finish third in a World Cup, you don't want them in your qualification group, really, do you? I mean, because I imagine through seeding, England wouldn't. That's right, isn't it?
I think the draw was made before the World Cup, so when it came out, it was like, okay, they're going to the World Cup. It's going to be fine. Don't worry. And I remember during the World Cup, someone saying to me, Do you know England have got these in the Euro qualifiers? And it's like, shit. Like, England have accidentally drawn a really good team.
Yeah. So England have accidentally drawn a really good team, and we've got to look ahead to qualifying for Euro 2004, knowing that the final game of that qualifying campaign would be away in Istanbul. And I think that's one thing where you can say, no matter how bad or good the Turkish national team may have been perceived, that is never going to be a fun.
No.
I mean, it would be fun in one sense of the word.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah. Let's have a look at their Euro 2004 qualifying campaign then. 3 straight wins to get things underway, heading into today's game, that is. So they beat Slovakia 3-0 at home, Macedonia 2-1 away, and Liechtenstein 5-0 at home. Coming on the same night that England drew with Macedonia. So Turkey lead England in qualification by 2 points, and the Three Lions have it all to do, really, because as we know, this isn't a walkover. This could stretch it to 5 points even. Let's talk about some of their standout players. Let's talk about Rushdu,
Yes.
the goalkeeper. I'd completely forgotten about him. If I can just say to anyone, black makeup under the eyes, like war kind of things, and I think you'll instantly get the picture of him in your head.
Yeah.
And also ponytail.
Huge as well. A huge man.
A huge man. What was he up to at the time then?
So he was a big character in the European game. He made his name at Fenerbahce before a disastrous move to Barcelona, and shortly after this game as well. He was actually on the verge of replacing David Seaman at Arsenal, and then him and Wenger had a discussion and disagreements over his fitness, so that meant that in the end he would sign Jens Lehmann instead.
I think, to me, disagreements over his fitness means he smokes. I'm just gonna guess.
He looks like he smokes, doesn't he?
Look
He looks like
he
he smokes a lot, but yeah, it's a disastrous move to Barcelona as well, because at the same time Victor Valdez is coming through.
Oh,
So it's like we've bought this new, one of the top keepers in the world. I think he was given like second best keeper in the tournament behind Oliver Kahn in the 2002, and Oliver Kahn won the player in the tournament.
Yeah.
So he still had a really good tournament. But yeah, they were just like, we've got Victor Valdez, he's young, we don't need you, and he just went back on loan to Fenerbahce. So yeah, nothing. He played for the national team from 1994, and was an everlasting player for them.
yeah. Let's have a look at the midfield. This is kind of a standout.
This is what you want.
Tugay is kind of the linchpin, so to speak, playing for Blackburn at the time, and probably the most recognisable player for sort of English football fans. Tugay had been at Galatasaray from 87 to 1999. He moved to Rangers for 2 seasons before former Galatasaray manager Graham Souness signed him up at Blackburn. He'd obviously worked with him during that 87 to 99 period. Tugay is one of those players, reminds me a bit of like Guti, and just, streets will never forget.
Yeah, I don't think I quite appreciated at the time what a good player Tugay was. It's only when you kind of look back and you see compilations of like him just absolutely twatting the ball.
I was going to say, he scored a few of those against Man United, I'm pretty sure. I think I remember him scoring like a last minute free kick against us.
I remember there is in this, I think in one season he scores 2 outrageous volleys.
Yeah.
And it's like, you always just like, he never seemed like he was ever trying that hard either. Like, you wouldn't say he had a hard shot, but it was hard enough that he placed it the hardest you've ever seen someone place it with the top of their foot.
Oh.
Like, it was amazing. He was kind of like your smoking man's Pirlo.
I would say Pirlo is a smoking man.
Yeah, maybe. I think but Tugay smokes a lot. Like, all right, your crack man's Pirlo maybe instead.
We always end up talking about smoking on this pod. Makes me want one.
I know. Yeah, he was just a sight to behold, really, and he looked like he'd like never taken a solid breath in 4 years.
Yeah, and it's just that's kind of that thing as well, isn't it? Where I guess he had some career before going to Blackburn, but
he's quite old when he went to Blackburn, really, and by the end of the time he leaves Blackburn, it's like, oh, he looks really old.
Could he have left Galatasaray and gone to a bigger team? Could he have gone from Rangers and got a couple of years in at United. He feels like a player Fergie would have liked if he could have afforded the luxury.
Well, I think as we go through these Turkey players, we'll start to see there's a pattern where they don't do well outside of Turkey.
The other kind of two midfielders then of note were Emre and Baştürk. Baştürk was part of the Bayer Leverkusen team who completed what Nick has described as an anti-treble. What's an anti-treble?
So the anti-treble is that the fact that they lost the Champions League final and the German Cup final, and they lost the league on the last day of the season. So that is proper fucking that up, isn't it?
Yeah. A successful season in a sense, really, to have competed to that level. But they were a good team around this side and an eclectic team as well. I think we probably... No. Was there anyone who played for them in the Australia game?
I don't think anyone in the Australia game, but I think around 2002 World Cup there'd have been some players there. I think was it Placent played for them, I think, and he injured David. No, that was Deportivo, wasn't it? But I think there's loads of amazing, like Lucio played there.
Yeah.
Berbatov was there. Baştürk, Balak.
Yeah.
Like you sit and look at their 11 and you just go, fuck, that is actually quite a good team. And I think like Valencia gets remembered around this time because they got to Champions League finals and lost. But to me, that team's just as up there. And like within a year, they were just all gone.
Yeah. Baştürk also had a spell at Blackburn, a one-game spell that was. He started at Molineux, dragged off at half-time and never seen a game. Bloody hell, we were bigging him up a minute ago. Emre was seen as one of the hottest prospects in European football, but wasn't really getting a look in at Inter Milan, which is kind of understandable, I think. I mean, understandable in the sense that Inter Milan were pretty damn good at this time, right?
Yeah. He's just rotting it into Milan, which a lot of players were. And so many that I would like to read you out a list of some players in around this era.
Yeah.
And let's see if you think, right, these all played for Inter Milan. Which of these surprised you? Sergio Conceição.
No,
that was like, yep, tick.
Yeah.
He played there, no problem, obviously. Juan Sebastian Veron.
That surprises me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does surprise. Yeah, that really surprised me actually.
So he goes there after Chelsea.
So
he's there a year at Chelsea and they go, we can't do this anymore.
He crammed a lot in, didn't he? I mean...
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. Fabio Cannavaro.
Yeah, that surprises me.
Yeah. You're actually wearing an Inter top today
I am
as well,
wearing an
which I've just tweaked to. So how many of these would you have on the back of your name? Obafemi Martins.
No, that's Pez. Tackle that is.
Yeah, properly. Thomas Helveg, the Denmark fullback.
Yeah, that's
there.
a surprise.
Yeah. Andy van der Meyden.
No, that's just a name to me.
Yeah.
Like, I remember hearing the name, but I couldn't tell you who he played for.
He went to Everton. He was a Dutch international as well. But yeah, he's there. Kili Gonzalez was there.
Yeah, God, that surprises me.
Yeah. Giorgio Karagounis, the man who scored for Greece to win the Euros. He's knocking about there as well. This isn't like even like a starting 11. These are like just randos that just had a spell at Inter in these years.
Yeah. Not surprised about him, just in the sense that I could imagine him anywhere. Yeah, exactly.
Sinisa Mihajlovic, the goal-scoring defender, with mega free kicks for Real Madrid before Carlos used to do it.
Sounds like somebody who would play for Inter Milan.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Clarence Seedorf, he played there.
That surprises me. I think of him as an AC Milan.
He's one of the players who played for both. He may have even gone there directly, which is mad. Two more: Edgar Davids.
Surprising.
And the final one, Gabriel Batistuta.
Oh my God, how many games did he play there?
These guys are just lying around in the bin at Inter Milan.
Yeah.
And they're still competing in Serie A. They got to a Champions League semi-final around this period as well. Just what's going on at Inter?
12 games he had for Inter, Batistuta. I would like to do something similar one day with the Real Madrid team when they had Schneider and Robben and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
That was just crazy.
There were years where you just just go through Real Madrid's bins, you'll get good deals.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people still think that's happening now, but Real Madrid are so smart, the players are about to die when they leave, so you just get robbed.
The reason we went on that little detour was we were talking about Emre, who was one of those on the books at Inter Milan. He would, however, move to play for a proper football team in a proper league in 2005
Our league.
when he came to Newcastle. He would only play 58 games for the club. He was I think the fans liked him, but he moved back to Turkey in 2008. During his short stay in England, he managed to rack up 5 separate accusations of racism, 3 of them coming in the same game against Everton.
Not well done, but
No.
but that's a lot to fit in, isn't it?
It is a lot to fit.
3 in one game.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Awful.
Probably not the last we'll hear about racism today. Hakan Şüker, now that is a great name.
Yeah.
Another Inter-Rotter,
Yep, he's there too.
alongside another Turkish player, Okan Buruk.
Also rotting it into.
Yeah. But Şüker, I mean, I remember him probably for the 2002 World Cup, I imagine. But he'd been a prolific striker for Galatasaray in the 90s, racking up over 160 goals for the club in 2 spells. They love 2 spells, don't they?
Right, this goes on.
He also had a short spell in non-Turkish club football, playing 5 times for Torino before going back to Galatasaray in 1995. So is that 3 spells or is that the second
So
spell?
he has 3 spells. That's the second, going back to Galatasaray 95.
Right, so then he went, I'm going through your notes here, so then he went to Inter, then Parma, and on the day of this game he's at...
Blackburn.
Is this all because of Graham Souness?
I don't know what it must be. It must be Souness going, I know some lads.
Yeah.
I mean, Blackburn must have some fucking amazing Turkish restaurants with all these lads knocking about.
And he got, the third spell came for Galatasaray after Blackburn. Did get another 55 goals for the club before retiring in 2008. I am exhausted with Blackburn, Galatasaray back and forth.
Unreal, isn't it? Daniel Shuker as well. Bit of the Christopher Lee about him.
Christopher Lee?
Yeah.
Who's Christopher Lee?
Christopher Lee, the actor, the famous actor who would play like creepy roles in like the 70s.
Let's have a look at Christopher Lee and I'll tell you. Yeah, I can see it. I don't recognise him though.
No, Christopher Lee.
What?
Oh, I guess you've not seen Lord of the Rings, though. That's another reason.
Yeah, there you
He's
go.
one of the original Nosferatus was old Reeves.
I'll have to
Christopher Lee, sorry.
Yeah. Suker is Turkey's highest ever goal scorer with 51 goals and the second highest appearance maker next to Rushdu. Emre and Tugay are also both in the top 6 of appearance makers, so this is you've got a solid core of some of Turkey's best ever players.
Yeah.
Enough back and forth between Blackburn and Galatasaray because we are heading to Sunderland, the Stadium of Light,
Indeed.
for the game. It's a Euro 2004 qualifier taking place on the 2nd of April 2003. England versus Turkey, and there's a lot to talk about aside from the football because can we say emotions are high?
Yes, I think we can say that. Sky high, boiling point, insane racism high, I think is kind of what we can sort of call it.
So this game was classified as high risk by police. I'm not sure what constitutes a game being classified as high risk, whether most are or whether this is high risk relative to football games or just general life. But where does this ill feeling come from? Because I can't think of it. There's not a footballing rivalry between England and Turkey. I'd be surprised if they'd ever played each other.
I think they played each other a couple of times, but it was all I don't think at this point Turkey had even scored a goal against England. It was just like Turkey weren't anything, so it was like there was no reason to have a rivalry.
We're going to get a rivalry going if we keep saying Turkey don't mean anything.
They had Motson in the commentary is constantly still not scored a goal yet. He's all over the place with it. But yeah, a lot of the ill feeling started around the 2000 UEFA Cup semi-final between Leeds and Galatasaray, where 2 Leeds fans were stabbed to death in Istanbul. So that's kind of the start of it, where all this begins. And following this, Galatasaray fans were not allowed to travel to England for the second leg.
Okay.
Understandable that they kind of couldn't come for everyone's safety, really.
Yes, understandable and okay.
Yes.
I do not want to say anything on this on that.
No. Galatasaray made it to the final of the UEFA Cup that year in Copenhagen and would play Arsenal in the build-up, 200 fans from Britain made up of supporters from Leeds, Chelsea, Arsenal, Cardiff, Swansea and Rangers formed a coalition and flew out to exact revenge over what had happened in that game. It's like if Suella Braverman had put together her own Avengers team. It's fucking grim and terrible.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But also, mind your own business. Like, what are you fucking sticking your oar in for?
Because we're all the same.
Yeah, we're all the same until we hate each other on another match day. This brings us together. Just pathetic.
The high-risk nature of this game meant that 1,000 police officers had been assigned to manage the night, really. There were 5,000 Turkish fans in attendance. The papers were reporting on Sunderland having the biggest Kurdish population in England, and that kind of feels like a bit of a... Oh, what's the word? Like stoking the flames.
Yeah, it feels like almost like a bit of a money grab. Kind of like, oh, Turkish fans, they'll love that Turkey are playing here. But it's like, well, it's not a good idea because it's going to create violence.
Oh.
It's like when like India in the cricket play Edgbaston quite a lot because Birmingham has quite a high Indian population. But like, just kind of like, just because like with cricket it's slightly different, like if fans aren't actually trying to kill each other, it's like, you know, okay, if we get more India fans in, that's going to be great. It's not like that in football. You can't just go, oh, you're like this around here. You're actually putting more people in danger by putting that game there.
Yeah, the Man United, I mean, it's different, but the Man United, was it Galatasaray?
Yes.
Recently there was some issues with that as well.
Yeah.
Over 25 arrests were made before the game. When Sunderland and Newcastle fans / hooligans, we're going to call them hooligans. Yeah. They definitely are. They took the opportunity to kick the shit out of each other. Make your mind up, it'll be a coalition or what, yeah. Groups of Middlesbrough and Leeds fans also travelled and clashed on the night, meaning further arrests. A group of about 30 suspected troublemakers were also arrested after a press photographer was insulted. I can just see that. Don't take my picture! It's like, you're setting fire to a bus.
Yeah, just awful.
I didn't actually see the next point was when buses carrying the Turkish fans pulled up, missiles were hurled and hooligans banged on the windows, tried to force their way onto the coaches.
Just what are you going to do on that coach? It's a coach full of Turkey fans, and you're like, the nature of a coach is you go up one at a time. You're going to get the shit kicked out of you by if you do that. Like, what? You're not going to... It happened to me. I was at an away game years ago, and there was like, all the fans were like coached back to the train station for their own safety, and there were 2 opposition fans waiting for thousands of like away fans. I was like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And like, and by the time that had happened, one of the guys tried to fight the entire coach and got himself arrested as well. It's like, just think. There's 2 of you and thousands of them.
It will never cease to amaze me. I just cannot understand why people think it's a normal way to be. Is just like, football is happening, therefore I must fight.
Yeah.
Like, people don't even do that for like the UFC or box. I mean, I know there are fights at those, but they're not like organised like
hooligan gangs going to watch the UFC.
Yeah, like the bloody
John
Jones.
I guess they don't have like the mad like following of like tribal colours and things like that. Of like, oh, this is my side. I'm supporting my side for that. You don't get that with like a, you know, not in real world. You've got crazy online people who like their life is supporting a one person or a brand or something like that. In real life, that doesn't happen.
You know what would be good? Here's an idea for any hooligan organisations listening. It would be great, instead of seeing on the news, fans have took over a town and they're smashing all the shops up and there's fights. Fans have took over a town, yeah, because every 5-a-side pitch in a 10-mile radius has been booked out, and they're having small little 5-a-side games against each other.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Why not do that?
Anyway, let's look at the England lineup then. For this game, the ones who made it through the
police barriers,
the fire and the flames. David James started in goal. We have Gary Neville at right back and Wayne Bridge at left back, with Sol Campbell and Rio Ferdinand knocking about at centre back. Nicky Butt, okay, we'll talk about it more in a bit, but Nicky Butt is just ahead of them in sort of a CDM role. Then you have Beckham and Gerrard, with Paul Scholes ahead of them. so a bit of a midfield diamond. Michael Owen and Wayne Rooney up front. The bench includes Paul Robinson, Danny Mills, Jonathan Woodgate, Frank Lampard, Kieran Dyer, Darius Vassell and Emil Heskey. So the headline news is Wayne Rooney starting in place of Heskey. So he becomes the youngest player to start for England at just 17 years and 160 days old. The bit I wanted to talk about as we're going through there is that midfield diamond. We've never really seen much of Nicky Butt at all, have we?
No, he played in the 2002 World Cup and he'd done well, but that was like, he got in that team because Danny Murphy was injured, and the only reason Danny Murphy was in that team because Steven Gerrard was injured. So we'd not had to like meld these players together too much before. Like Nicky Butt had become kind of undroppable.
Yeah.
So where do you fit all these good players in? This is the first time Sven has really got that headache. And he starts his diamond phase, and I'm a bit of a fan of it. I think this is actually quite an inventive way of getting these four midfield players where none of them want to play on the left. So you kind of stop that from happening, even though, Gerrard is kind of the furthest left player, but he's still in field and doing his own stuff too. I think it's not a bad idea at all.
No, I'm a fan of it, to be honest. Sven, man, you've got a good idea.
You've had a good idea for once, and you'll never have another.
Has this pod made you like Sven less?
Probably the same amount, because I always knew these flaws were there with Sven. It's just a bit of a memory. I actually think maybe because we visited a lot of the Sven era, it just makes me feel, oh, that was fun. Like, it was in the end pointless and a lot of heartbreak and disappointment, but there are definitely moments where you just think like, oh, it was a bit easier then, wasn't it?
Yeah. The Turkey team, we have Rushdu in goal, defensive Fatih, Alpay, Bulan and Ergun. Midfield Okan, Tugay, Bashtürk and Emre. Up front Nihat and Ilhan, meaning Hakan Şükür is on the bench.
Damn right.
What do we make of that? So the big names we've mentioned other than Şükür are all starting. A lot of those people I could not tell you anything about because that's just my ignorance.
No, well, again, it's a team from 20 years ago where you remember the Prem players. That's pretty normal.
Yeah.
Like, that's allowed. But Nihan, Ilhan started up front, both notching up goals so far in qualifying. Mini Şükür is on the bench, as we mentioned. Nihat had been in great form for Sociedad, so he's picked ahead of him. Nihat, I've got a little picture of him in our notes. A bit of the Alan Massey from Mike Bassett about him as well.
Absolutely, Alan Z.
Yeah, Alan Z. I couldn't actually remember his real name.
Yeah.
Like, in that, I say real name, it's the actor's name, but as in, like, that character, I was just like, what was he? I had to Google it because I just kept going, Skipper?
Yeah.
I couldn't think who he was. But yeah, as well, midfield for Turkey, it was a strong point. So much so that 2002 World Cup star Hasan Şaş does not play.
Wow.
He was voted into the team of the tournament in 2002 and had a particular standout performance against Brazil in their first game where he gave the whole team a run around. There's a great compilation of it on YouTube that I watched before today, and there's a moment he does like a Zidane turn to get out of a tight spot past the player and then just immediately does another one.
Yeah.
Like when you've got like a special move on a game and you're like, I've got that nailed. Like, I'm just going to keep doing it. A bit like when you would do like fake shots on Pro.
That comes up so often. That will never leave me. It's a stain on my character.
Look, you just had a move. It worked. It's like when you're in like a fighting game and you used to do a quick little punch. That was your method.
Oh God. The kits then. England have that Umbro reversible one with the red line kind of down, well, the middle. But it's not down the middle. It's not a red line down the middle. It's like a collar line almost.
Into the central emblem.
I like this kit, I have to say. I had this kit and I liked it. What are your thoughts?
I definitely had this kit. Whether I like it looking back, I don't know. I think I like what England kind of did in it. It's got good memories of it. I don't know if it's actually a nice kit. I'm a bit torn, but this was also the reversible. This is the era of reversible kits where you could get 2 for 1.
Yeah.
I think we said before, you play football in the white and the red one, turn it inside out to the club in the white and the blue, out to the hooligan Weatherspoons bar.
That's it. It's like in GTA when you got 5-star police on you and you get your car sprayed and then they just go off. You just flip reverse the top and nobody knows that I just set fire to a bus.
Someone I was working with the other day, so they were in Birmingham and the car in front of them, all of a sudden they were in a queue and the license plate just disappeared.
Disappeared?
As in like a visor just came down and hid the plate and then they just raced through the lights.
That's
I was like,
fun.
I've never heard of that before.
That's dodgy.
But that's basically what this is.
Yeah. Turkey, all red. I actually quite like the top. I kind of like the square sort of the national flag just planted on there. It's a bit cut and paste, but I like it for some reason.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a no messing kit for a no messing team. Build up to the game then. What are your... I'll tell you what, I had one thought actually. National anthems we speak about quite a lot. This guy, on the video I watched, I presume we probably watched the same video, they play the England national anthem, then it just went, I thought they're going to boo this shit out of this Turkey one, and I think Motson may have even said, oh, I don't know what to expect from this, and then it just cut out, and then came back and was ready to kick off.
Oh, what happened there? Like whoever uploaded that video has gone, we're getting rid of this.
I know, yeah, that's him taking a little victory.
Rewriting history, like whoever has done that as well, they've just taken the anthems out just to go, well, we want to show the best of England. He doesn't meet the crowd though, does he?
No, my eyes were on Beckham. Having just recently watched the Beckham documentary, I was thinking about which haircut he had, and it was kind of like not one or another, really, was it?
He's mid-changing, kind of. It's one of his worst ones, I think. It's too messy and all over the place, a bit like him in this game.
Fucking hell.
But like, it's like when he started inventing the Alice band, wasn't it? Like, this is that first time when that starts to happen. But yeah, Beckham's hair in that. My first reaction was Wayne Rooney looks impossibly young.
I know.
Like 8 years old, young Wayne Rooney. Yeah. It's insane how young he looks when he walks out on that pitch. And then by the end of the game, you're kind of like, yes, 20-year-old Wayne Rooney there. Like he seems to grow during the game and get older.
That's probably not too far from the truth.
I mean, he is older technically after the game, but like it looks so much different as well.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know what this song is, but we are in the era of England being, baby, I'm ready to go. That song is everywhere. Yeah. Like it's on the anthems beforehand or there. Sky were using it for years.
Definitely.
Like, what is that song? That was that made for like an advert?
No.
Or was that a real song? Because I've never heard it like independently, I don't think.
It's a song, I'm guessing this is the same one, by English alternative rock band Republica. And it was released as a single in 1996.
So why have they waited until this era of England to like start doing it? Because I'm pretty sure like it really, I always think when the chorus finishes and it cuts off, it kind of goes into, the background of the Monday Night Football music.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 like that.
Yeah.
They must have robbed that.
I've got an interesting point here for it. On the Wikipedia page for the song under Impact and Legacy, the song is used as the song that Sunderland AFC walk out to upon entering the pitch before a match begins.
Really? Is that like today, or is that just at one point, do we think?
That's all the information I have.
I think it was, because have you ever watched Sunderland Till I Die?
No, I've seen a bit of it.
So there's a bit of that. I think they come out to like Ride of the Valkyries for years.
Yeah.
And then the chairman's just like, we need to get something like big and moving on. And then it's like just trance plays. I think to get really people up for it. So maybe, it must have been, they must have come out to it at Sunderland because they come out to it at this game and we're at Stadium of Light.
I'm Googling again, I'm getting more and more into this.
It's just in.
I think they stopped using it for a while and brought it back last year.
Oh, okay.
So there we go. Interesting. Baby, I'm ready to go. And let's have a look then. We're in the first half. The whistle is blown and the atmosphere is pumping. The crowd is loud and that is reflected in pretty much instant kind of not fighting on the pitch, but like instant. There's biting. It's a tasty atmosphere, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Like it starts first couple of minutes. It's just like okay, not much goes on here, and then all of a sudden it's just slowly raising up a little bit. I mean, Beckham and Emery are at each other non-stop in the
It's
first half.
ridiculous. I don't know how they weren't both sent off. It's just madness. It took 8 minutes for Beckham to get a yellow card, leaving an elbow in as well, and that's a proper yellow card, isn't it? That
And also like he's arguing with the referee at the same time, and he's just a big whirlwind of like mania in this game. Like it doesn't look good at all. Like this is definitely, I feel, unfortunately, verging into the bad Beckham for England territory.
which is mad considering it's 2003.
Yeah.
And 2002, he was the king of everything.
And yeah, to change it so quickly as well. I mean, that yellow card as well, he misses the next game, and a frantic, crazy period that does start it for England. And Motson as well. Yeah, we've got Motson and soon to be West Ham manager Trevor Brooking on the comms, which was, again, that's my dream kind of England.
Yeah, it's a good commentary team.
Really. Motson is very bitchy thing to say about Alpine, and then a chance comes for England.
At the moment, they haven't been able to enjoy too much possession. Michael Owen on the run. Tackle coming in from Alpine, the Aston Villa centre half. Well, when he plays for Aston Villa, that is. Beckham. Rooney had come out to the right then. This is Scholes. Gerrard making a forward run on the far side. And that's hooked back. Owen comes in with Rushton, who's lost it. And can Rooney do it? Can Beckham do it? Oh, he's missed it. That's unbelievable. I mean, Wayne Rooney throws his eyes up, and Rushton is so lucky. And, he's saying Gerrard does very well with his left foot, tries to take it, and then Rooney tries a little toe ender. It is blocked, and then it gets out of the way when Beckham shouts and somehow dragged it wide of the goal. I think it was Ergun who blocked Rooney's shot. The 17-year-old there, well, he was nearly a goal scorer on his starting debut, but it was Beckham for whom the goal beckoned, and he missed it. Rooney did really well. It was on target before it hit the defender.
Your man Rushton is unsurprisingly kind of at the centre of this. It's a near calamity from the goalkeeper, who drops a high cross from Gerrard right in the path of Wayne Rooney. His shot towards an open goal is blocked. That block bounces out to Beckham, who tries to volley into the corner but screws it horribly wide. It's not going well for Beckham.
No, not at all.
Is there anything else you want to say about that chance? I mean, it would have been great for Rooney to have got that goal there.
Yeah, it's just kind of like the energy around Rooney kind of upsets the Turkey defenders, really, when you're looking at that as well. And like you say, it's kind of blocked with a hand, maybe. It's a bit hard to see on the replays, and it's not really touched on the commentary. And then Beckham just steams in and leathers the ball, and you just feel like that just kind of sums him up in this game. He's so all blood and piss and vinegar. He actually doesn't just stop for a minute and calm himself down.
I know.
Because if he'd have done that, you feel like he could have just slotted the ball in. But he skews it so badly wide as well.
It's bad. It's not great, is it? I mean, they would have thought, let's try and get into Beckham's head, and they've achieved it instantly.
Yeah, before they've walked out almost.
I don't know where his head was kind of, elsewhere, maybe club-wise coming into this game, but not good. Beckham's kind of tetchy nature is a bit of a... I mean, he's the guy who sets the example for England, so the game is quite nervy and scrappy without many chances, and you do feel that it just needs a spark.
Beckham sees Neville ahead of him. Now then, Owen. Was it a free kick? Oh, there's no free kick was given, but Bülent accused Owen of diving. Yeah, that was the exchange. We'll have to have a look at the replay, see who was right as bundled down there, Nicky Butt on Verster. Well, now there's an argument because the referee has given a free kick against Butt, and Beckham is cross about that. And, well... Oh, and a push. That was unnecessary, really. Okan was pushed in the back. He's reacted. Gary Neville pushed him. Yellow card's been given. Now then, is that to Okan?
Yeah, Okan, definitely, because he used his hands and his arms. Why did he get involved?
Well, I don't think Neville had to get involved either, to be fair, but anyway. And I think the referee's going to... There's a lot of argument going on between the players.
Well, Emery and Beckham have had a little exchange for most of the game. David Beckham, of course, has got to be very careful, having already picked up the card.
There's a lot of exchanges going on out there. Okan, number 7, gets the yellow card. Both number 7s booked now.
That'll do it.
Yeah, there's your spark, mate. It's all kicked off. Do you want to run us through, Nick?
Yeah, Beckham is at the heart of things. Owen kind of goes down on the edge of the area, and Beckham is so wound up. He chases 2 different Turkey players back into his own half to try and get the ball back.
Yeah.
And he clearly tries to like take one of them out with his legs and fails to do that. And the player runs away from him. And Nicky Butt just walks over and elbows him. It's just like Beckham could easily be off for that. Nicky Butt probably should be booked for just walking in and like clothing some bloke around the back of the head as well.
I don't think the commentators mentioned about maybe taking him off.
Yeah, like genuinely, that's like a real concern. Like they're going, he needs to come off in this game. He's too wound up. Something's not right.
It would have been a bad look for him, but he couldn't really have anyone but himself to blame. I know he's being wound up, but Christ Almighty, Beckham.
But like Alex said, everyone's in the middle of it. Beckham and Emery and Alpay, they all kind of rush over when Butt makes this challenge, and everyone is in on it as well, in on the ref as well. Beckham gets another warning. I mean, he's been given a lot of rope here.
Yeah, we've seen him wound up in the past, obviously, but I would have thought that he could maybe have handled it a bit better. He's more of a senior player at this point.
I mean, he is the captain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I totally agree. And but one thing I did always love about Beckham is whenever there was a fight to be had, he was in the middle of it. Like he's kind of like remembered or maybe at the time was seen as this kind of like effeminate player who cared more about his looks and his hair and don't hit me and his voice and things like that. But actually, on the pitch, it couldn't be anywhere like further from the truth. Whenever there was a fight to be had, Beckham was in the middle of it, like pushing someone or sticking up for a teammate or doing something, and he just loved a brawl.
Definitely, he loved a brawl. WrestleMania vibes. I think that's all he's good for at the moment, though, isn't it? Really, because we haven't talked much about the actual football, but I think by this point he's probably already maybe done about 6 or 7 crosses that just hit the first man and barely get off the ground. I mean, what's going on there?
It's not good at all, is it? And there's something really wrong with it, and he doesn't get into this game at all. And it looks even like his body language is really bad. Like, so when he's running, he's got these long sleeves on, and they're just kind of like flapping in the wind. And just when he's chasing all these players, and let's say we're kind of into, unfortunately, the bad Beckham years for England. And we mentioned this is a bad haircut as well, and he just looks less mobile. Like he doesn't feel like he's got that energy. Well, he's got energy about him, but it's being used in the wrong way, and he just seems like a bit of a step off. In the Beckham documentary, Qualifiers mentions that Beckham, in his mind, bulked up for an advert.
Right, I remember.
And that's around this period, so it's not long before Ferguson sells him to Real Madrid, and then obviously Queiroz becomes his manager. Whoops. And then, but I do kind of remember this bit of Beckham of like being a bit less mobile, and there was just a bit of something not right with him.
I mean, he was pretty damn mobile to chase them Turkish players down, but it was fueled by anger and maybe being hench. To get into it.
He's on the roids.
The atmosphere's kicked up another few levels again, and Beckham is like the catalyst for that, but it's just not in the way we used to seeing that from him. We haven't talked much about Turkey, who are absolutely by no stretch a bad team for England to be facing. I mean, equals, I'd say, with the ball. Maybe England do look better because they've got Rooney as an outlet. I think Turkey are missing that, but kind of like those Croatia games that we've watched where it's just like, they're solid with the ball and can keep it in ways that England can't, where England always has to be big, high drama moments.
We just haven't got the players that can do this. This is like one of those first moments for that I can remember, but England aren't like bad in this game either, though. They're still in it. Turkey have got a lot of the ball, but they get it back off them quite quickly. But no one can really lay a hand on each other like really comfortably. Emre's wearing number 2, playing left midfield, unacceptable. Hated that. Hated all of that.
Not good.
Campbell is a real standout in this England game. This is kind of like So a good reminder that Sol Campbell was an excellent defender, and like
Bloody love Sol.
absolutely less now, but a bit of a crazy man. But yeah, he is excellent in this half, and he kind of like makes up for some of the other defenders around him not being great. And for a large period, it's a bit of a quiet first half for Wayne Rooney, but all of a sudden, he kind of makes England's 2 best bits of football in the whole half.
Yeah, I mean, one of those moments is playing a few keepy-ups on the left and volleying a ball out
That
wide.
was so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Street footballer, isn't he?
Yeah.
So it's a couple of keepy-ups, volleyed ball out wide to Steven Gerrard, who crossed him for Owen, who totally miskicked it and handled the ball, which is a bit of a shame for Owen again. He's at that point where he is always on the periphery for England unless he's scoring, which is fine. It's just good that we've got Rooney there.
It's just not that unbelievable lightning pace as he had before. He's kind of moving into quick enough to do things to teams and an incredible finisher still.
The crowd do get into it with that Rooney moment, and for the right reasons, as opposed to geeing up David Beckham wanting to kill someone. They're like, oh yeah, we got a player here who could flip in, turn this game and give us a proper England memory. To sum it up, Motson calls him a rare talent.
Yeah, that rare talent. It's absolutely thrilling. And yeah, there's another period where Rooney kind of dances through a few players, a brilliant through ball to Owen, and Rushdie just somehow gets it away. So England really finishing the half very strong, and with Wayne Rooney just being the catalyst for it as well. I mean, Rooney, not old enough to vote, like he'd care, couldn't buy a drink, like he couldn't get it, and suddenly just brings the game to life as we go into half time.
Yeah, as we go into half time, and I'm guessing this isn't even original for this time, but Lineker says we're in basically Wayne's world, and it looks quite promising.
Is Rooney the easiest punned player ever? Because there's so many puns with Rooney. I don't know why. There's just like, it's just so easily done. Like, you wouldn't even say like his name is, like, the double O helps out a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Wayne?
Yeah, there's...
I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it just feels like I've seen a lot of pun headlines about Wayne Rooney in the past.
You are absolutely right. I mean, they just use Roon quite a lot, like for
like Rooney Tunes.
Yeah, just like a prefix, like Roon. I don't know, RooMania. Wayne's World was a big one at this point. So we go into half time, and we need a quick update from Hugh Edwards on the war on Iraq.
Yeah, absolutely no chance they will be stopping the important football for this today. But it's like immediately we get Lineker's quip, and then now over to the news.
Yeah,
like very solemnly done.
It's Wayne Rooney's world, and in this world there is a massive war. So
going on.
Thank you, Wayne, for that. So we're back to Lineker after the war update, and we get a violence update before kick-off. Obviously, the arrests that we kind of mentioned earlier, news about those is trickling through. In the studio, alongside Lineker, we have Alan Hansen, Peter Reid, and Ian Wright. Ian Wright, again, in what we presume is a next sweater vest.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's an interesting look for Wrighty.
It's an interesting trio, really. Hansen, Wright, and Reid.
I know, yeah.
Is Reid just there by proxy of Sunderland?
Peter Reid, he'd recently been Sunderland manager at the time.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, he'd been Sunderland manager. I think he was probably Leeds manager at the time, or about to be Leeds manager.
Maybe. What's the conversation like at half time? Because there's not much. You can talk about Wayne Rooney, and other than that, you have to talk about the tetchy kind of atmosphere and the kind of brinksmanship that's going on from the two sides.
Yeah, definitely. Alan Hansen says the word Turks twice. Different time.
It's different times.
Yeah. Ian Wright says Rooney's enthusiasm was effervescent, and then he actually stops himself to go, I used that word right, didn't I? Like, he gets really proud that he's done that. And it's clearly no media training Ian Wright at this point. It's just fresh out of football, just saying words.
We get an update then from Scotland's trip to Lithuania, where Lithuania won 1-0. The pitch in this game is incredible. Yeah, the Scots are at it again.
Enormous Mike Bassett vibes, isn't it? Even like the Lithuania kit looks like they've got it out the back of a football magazine. Like it doesn't look like a real kit.
The last bit of half time, we get they crammed a lot of different stuff into half time.
Yeah.
Luckily for them, there wasn't that many goals to talk about, well, there were none. The winning lotto numbers for the evening, they get a mention: 8, 11, 15, 21, 37 and 39 with a bonus ball of 25. Back to the pitch.
Well, I like the sound of your optimism in the studio, I must say. And this is one of the reasons why the crowd tonight, 47,667, rather more than the 3,548 who saw the game in Liechtenstein. But a huge audience, I know, of those of you back at home. Trevor, do you think the boys are being a bit overkind to England?
Well, I think they acknowledged Turkey played very well, 35 minutes. England had to work so hard to make sure they reduced the number of chances. And as they said, David James made the one save, a couple of little half openings. But I think, the Rooney spell just up to half-time, they've got to carry that on. Whether Turkey can continue to work as hard as they have in closing England down and harassing them into mistakes, I think over the 90 minutes, gradually, whether they can sustain it, we'll have to see. But I do hope England's midfield does get that further forward and gets more control.
Turkey in the last year have lost only 3 games out of 15, and 2 of those were defeats at the hands of Brazil in the World Cup. England have only lost 1 competitive match under Sven-Göran Eriksson, and that was to Brazil in the World Cup. And if Rooney starts to play like this, or continues to play like this, we'll be making probably outrageous comparisons, but we won't for the moment.
The frantic energy continues in the second half. It's a fast start, and England are kind of they're going for it, aren't they? They're pressing, and they're maybe a bit less wanting to fight and more wanting to score a goal.
Yeah, they totally run over Turkey at the start of this half. Scholes, Rooney, Gerrard and Butt kind of all winning the ball and running just directly at Turkey, and it's all very hot-headed from England's midfield, but it doesn't ever feel like it's out of control.
Yeah.
Like it's just like there's pressure now building on Turkey, and England have got their foot in the game.
Yeah. We do get some choice chanting from the crowd of "Stand up if you hate the Turks."
Not good.
The Turks. I mean, where's all this hatred? Well, it's that Leeds thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the Leeds thing, and it's just the idea of we don't get games here often.
Yeah.
And kind of like, okay, and I'm not saying it clearly wasn't everyone in the stands, but we'll come on to a bit later of kind of like the feedback that happened, from what happened on the pitch and in the stands as well. But like you say, it just feels mad that this was like a period where everyone just hated Turkey.
Yeah.
And there are other chants as well that I definitely, we can just about get away with saying what we have, but there are other chants from the time which is just like utterly disgusting.
Yeah. Back onto the pitch. Michael Owen gets injured.
The first of many.
It's from a challenge from Alpay, who goes through the back of Owen, and Owen would be replaced by Darius Vassell. I think you've mentioned before about him being not just a one cap kind of man, and a bit of an exciting option for England. Yeah,
he was a really exciting player at this point. I think he got 3 goals in just over a year for England. One of them, I think, was on his debut, was a scissor kick, and then kind of a few in the the warm-ups for 2002 World Cup. Pretty sure he started that first game, which is just insane. Like what Sven had at his arsenal, and he's picking like Hargreaves and Vassell on the left. Like, all right, I know you haven't got everything, but yeah, just really weird. But and he gets a chance a few minutes after coming on. Neville kind of skips the ball over a player, pulls it back in the box, and Vassell, just has a shot parried by Rushdu, and Rushdu is so pleased with himself, he just starts winking at the players around him, which is great.
Yeah, he's at it again as well, Rushdu. He's kind of at the centre of things. Beckham dips a typical free kick into the bottom corner from in that Beckham territory, but it's another save from Rushdu to just about clear it. There is then a massive penalty appeal as the ball is hurtled into the box, and Campbell chucks himself and the entire everything he's got is being chucked at this ball. Emery has his arms up and blocks it almost on Campbell's head, the kind you probably say would be given today, maybe.
Oh, absolutely. But that one wouldn't even take that long with VAR to get given. That is just clear. He's just like palmed the ball onto Campbell's head.
Campbell just needs to just not be in the box, though. Really. He's such a good option, but there's always something.
But like, he's a good option, but he just never works out for him. Like, he has a few headers in this game as well, and like the commentators are clearly a little bit excited about like Campbell. Like they absolutely love it. And like we said, the Turkish midfield has been nowhere in the second half, and they actually made a change with Bashta coming off for Hassan Shas, who is no longer bald. Miracle.
He's in the right place.
He was bald by choice.
Yeah.
He was a Larry David, not a real bald person, because he comes on, he's got like a perfectly fine head of hair.
Yeah, maybe, do you think Wayne Rooney knew at this time he'd be going back to Turkey for miracle hair growth over the years?
That's a good look.
So Turkey have recognised that they're kind of falling a little bit behind, looking to make changes, but England are keeping the pressure up. You get a feeling that the game is on the brink of a goal.
Beckham will take the corner. Gerrard makes the first run. Ferdinand waiting, it's come out to Paul Scholes, the shot's on, so is the block. Beckham. And that's in by Bridge. Oh, there's a chance there, and there's Vassell! England have scored! It's Darius Vassell! After Ferdinand had the first effort, and England take the lead in the Stadium of Light. And the celebrations are immense. 75 minutes, and they've cracked it at least for now.
England lead, and it's Vassell. Get in there.
Lovely Vassell, yeah. He's on.
Bit of sweet relief with all that tension in the stadium that England take the lead. It's a Beckham corner that's cleared and finds its way back into the box. Ferdinand has a shot parried by Rustu, but only as far as Vassell, who slides it under the keeper. Q, a pitch invasion from England fans, and the classic of the era, the Burberry cap.
Yeah, they're proper in big hooligan gear, aren't they? Hooligan caps, bad, enormous jeans, like so
much jeans in this picture.
Jeans. I had a mishap with some enormous bad jeans the other week.
Go on.
So I went to go abroad, and while I was driving, actually when I got to the hotel ready to fly in the morning, I'd realised that I'd only got jogging bottoms with me, which I was wearing, so I'd forgot to pack any actual trousers. So the option was I either, when I got to Copenhagen, buy some there. Don't really want to do that because it cost £1 million, or try and go to the airport in the morning and buy jeans from there.
Jeans at the airport?
Airport jeans. So clearly you've got your high-end Hugo Boss. I was no ready to pay those prices. So the cheapest place I could find was Fat Face.
Yeah.
Disgusting jeans in there. Absolutely horrendous. I had two options. The only ones that fit me, I didn't even finish fully putting them on. I just kind of like, they just about fit, and I went, fine, these are fine. £49.
Yeah. Oh.
Got to Copenhagen and started walking and noticed that they were very baggy. Very baggy around the ankles. And during the night, I tripped up on the baggy jeans, ripped a hole in the knee. Jeans are in the bin now. So,
fucking hell.
So that's great.
Yeah.
So I know how these England fans feel rushing the pitch in their awful jeans. I'm amazed more of them weren't on the floor.
Jeans in Sunderland are cheaper than jeans at an airport or Copenhagen. I'm pretty sure of that.
Oh, I should have gone to Sunderland then, or I should have just packed my fucking jeans.
Sven is delighted. He does a little point of delight.
It's a bit like a cricket out, isn't it? Like the umpire's giving it. Like that is as excited as Sven ever gets on a football pitch.
And we get a bit of putting down of the people who stormed the pitch from Brooklyn. We're all celebrating, but let's get back in the stands.
What, they can hear him. Come on, we all like a laugh here, but let's calm down, guys.
Yeah.
He's so a dad. I think we've always said this. Like, he is like a dad at a wedding.
Yeah.
Like, I'm giving away my lovely daughter. And I'll Phil, he's a good man, is Phil. He's had his problems.
Phil. And it's time for the David James section of the show. Calamity, beautiful calamity. It's just madness. I mean, this is a game with two eccentric keepers.
Yeah.
You know, kind of stealing the show, low key. And it's almost immediately after the England goal that David James shows us a bit of his bad side.
Yeah, it almost gives everyone in the ground the shits, doesn't he? Turkey kind of play a long ball forward. James runs out and tries to claim it. Like, that's all I can think he's doing. But you've got two players in front of him, way on the left of the box, and Nihat just kind of like takes the ball down, controls it, and totally fucks it over the bar. But David James is so far out of his goal with like the ball is at a Turkish player. If he'd have just had like a second of calm in his head, he would have just chipped it over them, and it's just an open goal. So you just kind of go, okay, big let off for England. Let's calm down.
Have you seen the Ramsdale thing that's doing the rounds?
No, what's that?
Oh God, he's done a.
I know isn't his dad done a podcast and he's slagging off Arteta? I'd seen.
It was some podcast. Ian Wright was on the podcast. I think it might be Ian Wright's podcast, but there was somebody else on there. I can't remember who. But all I've seen is the isolated clip, and it's Aaron Ramsdale saying about basically like ADHD or something like that, and he's like, you know, 90 minutes of a football game, I just can't focus for that long. He's like, I've got 6 or 7 minutes where I can focus, and then I need to like, that's why I get into it with the fans and stuff to just
He needs to keep himself busy, basically, one of them keepers.
Ian Wright's face when Ramsdale says he can't concentrate for 90 minutes is like, what the fuck have you just said? What one way to absolutely ruin your career that is. I can't be trusted.
I can't like calm myself down, basically. But you do feel like he's a better keeper when he's busy, isn't he, Ramsdale?
I know, but like, you don't say that
out loud,
like, because it's or think about how you're going to word it more than like, I can't focus for 90 minutes where.
But I guess if that is ADHD, that is just the nature of it, isn't it? Of just saying stuff as well and just going, well, that's what I've said now. I can't. But maybe take that out, lads.
I know.
Or his dad's clearly there, as he seems to be everywhere at the moment. Just go, just a quick one.
People are cutting.
You can't say that. It's like Malcolm Tucker rushing into the newsroom.
People are cutting it with. I've never seen this clip where he keeps looking at a little bird on the pitch as a goal goes in.
I haven't seen that.
There's like a little bird in like the 6-yard box, and like there's an attack happening, and it's coming towards him, and he keeps like looking at this little bird, and then the goal just goes. I mean, fucking hell, man. That bloke. But back to David James. He's had his Ramsdale moment.
He has another.
He has another Ramsdale, the good Ramsdale.
Yeah. So in the noise in the ground when this happens is amazing, and the crowd don't like change what they're doing when they're chanting. It's almost like being at like a game abroad where I heard someone say this on a podcast the other day that actually in England the environment and the atmosphere of the ground is very much to do with what's on the pitch.
Yeah.
But when you go to somewhere like Turkey, a goal could go in and you just don't notice because like it's the same thing over again. And that's one of the few times I've ever heard that in England as well, where this happens. And, you know, David James just keeps going and has a bit of a mad one. And he does the exact same thing again.
Yeah.
And it's just like, stay on your line, David. Like, we don't need you to do this. Like, they've got it covered.
Yeah. So, but and it's not long ago before he pulls off an absolutely brilliant save. About 47 seconds actually after that second venture. Emre slips Ergun down the left, and his cross finds Nihat, who pummels a header towards the top corner. Somehow James reaches back and punches the ball over his fingertips. Great save. I think Brooking says it's world class.
It is a brilliant save, and again he does kind of punch it with his fingertips. Like his fingertips are out, and it makes the ball go up. Like it's not like he palms it over. It's just a great hand on that.
Yeah, well done, David James, and just try not to come out as much next time in the future, mate. We're getting towards the end of the game here. Rooney is brought off with a minute to go. The 17-year-old gets a standing ovation. England are doing the most England thing ever. They really are hanging on a bit at this point, and they brought on Kieran Dyer.
All very England.
Yeah. Dyer does make a run on a break for England, kind of towards the penalty area, and he struggles to stay on his feet.
With England leading 1-0, and there's 3 minutes. Vassell. Oh dear, what a shame. Kieran Dyer fell over there. Oh, they've won it back. lost the ball. I thought Dyer had started to stumble already, to be honest.
Yeah, it wasn't a penalty. It might have been the shirt tug was outside the penalty area. Later on, he's lost his balance and actually has tried to get past him. Yeah, I don't think it was a penalty, but it is, and valuable seconds apart from anything else. Is he going to get booked? Yeah.
Soft penalty to England.
Very soft penalty.
He was falling over.
Yeah.
He was falling over.
He was falling over the moment he came on the pitch.
Yeah.
he's barely stood upright the entire time he's on.
Falling over in the box, and somehow the foul given. Everyone's kicking off. The ref's trying to keep the players calm. Nicky Butt and Alpine are having a particularly heated argument.
An amazing kind of discussion between each other, and there's definitely an F word that Alpine drops it. You can just see his mouth, but he is fighting everybody.
Let's have a listen to that penalty then.
Might have flashed the yellow card twice there, to be honest. There was a bit of a tussle between him and Rio Ferdinand. But in the meantime, David Beckham's concentrating on the most important job in hand, and that's the penalty that can clinch the match for England. Turkey's so upset with the decision. Beckham scores, and England go top of the group in Euro 2004. Jubilation all around the Stadium of Light. The England captain scores his 11th goal for his country, and really, well, he's sewn this match up, but there's people on the pitch which has rather spoiled it, but right in the corner, Trevor.
Well, it was.
Wouldn't you know it?
Yes.
Would you not know it? David Beckham seals the win with a perfect penalty.
Yeah.
Smashed so fucking hard and precise into the bottom right corner of Rushdo's goal. It's been a bad day for Beckham on the pitch, but he's got a bit of retribution for himself there. I mean, considering how much he's been wound up by the players, and the fact he's been basically walking the fine line of a red card since the 8th minute to finish it off with a goal. Well done.
I think so. It's a brilliant penalty as well, seeing the fact that he's been so bad on the ball all day. Like, this is probably one of his most precise, well-struck penalties ever for England.
Yeah.
And he starts running off with, like, his arms out like he's on a crucifix or something.
The classic Beckham run.
Yeah, but it's like fists clench, and there's a second pitch invasion, seemingly by the exact same people who did the first. Maybe they're all just wearing the big jeans and the chav hats, but it's like it's mad. And Motson isn't having it as well. He goes, "There's people on the pitch. Well, let's rather spoilt it." Like, let's rather spoilt it. It's so lovely.
Then what happens next is quite iconic, actually. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, my God, I remember this.
Yeah.
Just a memory unlocked moment. Beckham gives it a proper fuck off to the Turkish players. That, like, straight away he proper goes in on them.
Yeah.
And then he just switches to start blowing them these sexy kisses, doesn't he? Like, there's quite a few as well. I thought it was just one. He does about 8.
Yeah.
It's just loads of these kisses just to wind them up.
They start off quite gentle.
Yeah.
The kiss is a little bit like a little smooch, and then by the end of it, he's like aggressive, like.
He's like making fucking love at the back end of it. And that is full time. England win and go top of the group. Let the riots commence.
England are away again, but it's all over. It's all over. Darius Vassal and David Beckham, the 2 goal scorers. Wayne Rooney, the star, before being substituted. Sven-Göran Eriksson's team back on the top of a group which they really have to dominate now to try and go through automatically to the final of Euro 2004. Turkey resisted for a long time here, showed a stubborn nature and some signs of class in the first half, but once Beckham's England got on top just before half-time, and much of the credit for that goes to the 17-year-old, 2 guys having to be dragged away by the coach. Much of the credit for that goes to Rooney, but the second half started the way the first half finished, and England kept it going. 75 minutes
Yeah,
they
the
waited.
madness doesn't stop there. As both sets of players go down the tunnel, there is a brawl. One man who was involved and would tell his tale later was Ray Clements, England's goalkeeping coach at the time. Clements apparently had an argument with some of the Turkish players and later said, "When 30 men are put together in a small space after a highly charged match, there is bound to be some colourful exchanges. Instances like this are not unusual in football. There was no fighting and no physical contact whatsoever. The whole situation was blown out of all proportion." Cheers, Ray. I mean, God, don't get him to promote the next UFC fight. It's okay. These
Not
things are
fighting.
Both Tugay and Alpay were said to be involved, however. Alpay is supposed to have had altercations with two fans following Beckham's penalty. He had a black eye when he left the pitch, so was that in play, or was that from a fan, or was it from a player in a bit of a scrap? Who knows? So all of that interesting, weird stuff about the violence, but the biggest takeaway really on the pitch is the arrival of Wayne Rooney, as we say, major international player. It didn't just feel like a good debut from a promising player. It felt like the start of something huge because it was a pressure cooker atmosphere and it just brushed off him. When you look at Beckham getting absolute, like Rooney had temperament issues, obviously, and we've seen those. Yeah. But this was the point where maybe you thought that's not going to be an issue.
And a child, essentially still a child, being able to do that. Like, it's still hard to think of at 17 years old doing something like that, being the man of the match for England. I know he didn't score and all that kind of stuff, but it's amazing. And there's an article I read as well, it signed off with, "There's a rumour of a new sign on the hills in Los Angeles paying tribute to the hottest act in football. Hooray for Rooney Wood."
There we go.
See what I mean about awful puns? That doesn't work whatsoever. It's not like Hollywood at the start of it as two O's.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Oh, bloody hell, Wayne. I mean, that is such a strange... Why would England beating Turkey 2-0 in the Euro 2004 qualifier prompt Los Angeles City Council to set up a sign saying hooray for Rooney Wood?
Hollyroon, that's better.
It's better.
That's something. I mean, it's not good, but it's better. And yeah, it isn't even a pun. It's just awful.
The atmosphere, really, when I watched it, I did enjoy the heightened atmosphere, but it wasn't a harmless intensity. Gordon Farquhar, BBC Sports correspondent at the time, said there were Sieg Heil and Die Turkey Die chants from hooligans before and after the game, as the Yobs walked around in their designer uniforms. UEFA said they would be looking at the pitch invasions closely, although they did acknowledge that they were more celebratory than aggressive in their nature. Don't think that matters. Trouble inside the stadium was minimal, but the hostility towards the visiting fans was tangible, and from loudly booed and stand up if you hate Turkey chant being widely observed. The FA were kind of put under the microscope for this. There were calls to punish them for these scenes, because when England players had been racially abused in Slovakia were forced to play their game against Liechtenstein behind closed doors. On the night of the game, police arrested 106 people. No Turkish fans were arrested as a result of the match.
Yeah.
Police on horses backed up officers with dogs and batons. Not dogs with batons. Officers had dogs and they had batons. Charged England supporters who were besieged by the Turkish at the end of this. Besieged by the Turkish end at the Stadium of Light. Car wheel trims and bar stools were thrown at police as well. So it's all happening.
It all kicked off, and for some people, this was like Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, this kind of felt like hooliganism that just, it was like the 80s and the 70s were back. Like, for some people, this was genuinely like, we've got our country back for some fucking idiots. And after the game, hooligan message boards were rife with content from Sunderland's Seaburn Casuals, Newcastle Gremlins, and Leeds Service Crew.
The Newcastle Gremlins.
I know, but like, these hooligan groups in England, you just think, what stupid names. Like, not even like the Geordie Hardmen, but the Newcastle Gremlins. What is that?
This is all so bad. I can't believe you found these hooligan message boards. I mean, what's the...
Oh, I went deep.
Yeah. some highlights then from.
Should we do alternate ones? So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do one, I'll do one, because these are insane.
Do you want to go first?
Yep, it says all in a day's work. What a day. Okay, police made a few snatches, which did not help our case. But they say we no longer have a firm. Who took it to the scum's backyard? Good day, good result, good fun afterwards in the tune.
So these are just mental. I mean, they're talking about. It's almost like there's been a community bake sale
Yeah.
for sick kids in a small village, and this is Facebook the day after. Really proud, everyone.
Yeah.
Well done. Like,
Great turnout.
it's fucking idiots battering dogs, police dogs, and just what are they doing? All this stuff as well. They say we're at an end. Like, who?
Yeah.
And like, they say it's at an end because they have to ban you, like, from going to game because you attack people.
Just insane.
I think one of my favourite bits was a lot of your lads were arrested, but the prisons are full.
I know, yeah.
We win. Superintendent Jim Campbell of Northumbria Police said, I think it was worse before the game, but the majority of the trouble seemed to be between different England fans.
Amazing.
Again, linking back to, if everyone's getting battered and winning, who's winning?
Yeah.
He continued, I think a lot of it involved Middlesbrough and Sunderland fans, and there might have been some Leeds fans there as well.
It's like they're at a tasting menu.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting blackcurrants.
Notes of Sunderland, notes of Mackham. Campbell also said policing of the event had been successful, with officers saying they were pleased with the overall operation. All good. I mean, yeah, it's just, yeah. The media, however, didn't hold back. The Mail called it a night of shame at the Stadium of Spite.
So
Don't have a
male.
go at the stadium, mate. It's not the stadium's fault, is it?
Yeah.
The article calling the hooligans a dung heap of England yobs who spat obscenities at the Turks.
I mean, you've undermined your point there by saying Turks.
It's the most Daily Mail ever article. It reads, both countries should make it known in advance to those louts planning to buy tickets on the black market in Istanbul that no one will be admitted to the public seating unless he or she can answer the police in fluent Turkish.
Speak the language.
Is that they've just made that up? That they can't have announced that by
Beforehand. Yeah.
like in the hours that it takes between the game ending and the police, like the article
Yeah.
being written.
I know.
Oh, since England fans, can hardly speak English properly, it's most unlikely that any of the subterranean creatures who came to the surface in Sunderland could learn another language in 6 years, let alone 6 months. London having a go at Sunderland there,
I
isn't
know,
it?
totally. Also, though, do you know who the England fans also had an altercation with?
So I'm trying to think who I would think it would be. Beckham?
Terry Butcher.
Terry Butcher.
Terry Butcher, the last man you'd want to pick a fight with, really. So apparently fans could be heard shouting some of the worst things imaginable, and things which are, religiously and geographically incorrect. Butcher heard enough, turned around and ordered the fans, shut it, you morons. This was a game of football, not a war. If you're all so brave, go and enlist and fight in Iraq. Now get out of here.
Get out of here.
I told you.
Oh my God. Well, that reaches the end of the line for the first battle between England and Turkey in the bid for Euro 2004 qualification. Next time, we're going to be looking at the return game. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you very much.